Welcome to Trailer Hitch. I don't know if y'all know this, maybe this is your first time listening, but there's a lot of deliberation that happens on this here trailer review podcast.
On the podcast, but also in between us pressing record. A lot of deliberation.
Of course. Now, we're going to give you an inside scoop into this process right now. What you are going to hear is James and I figuring out what trailers we're going to be reviewing tonight, but also because Halloween is just around the corner and James and I are both very bad at planning in advance, we're also going to be figuring out...
It's a last-second thing all the time for
all
me.
the time.
All the time.
Really, Halloween shouldn't cost you more than $5, but with Amazon next day fees, it always turns into...
Oh my gosh, right?
Such an affair,
so
right?
we're going to try and figure out stuff that we have laying around that we can make costumes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone is going to be in a Joker costume.
Oh my god, so many Jokers.
Which, by the way, speaking of, have you seen it?
I saw Joker.
And I saw Joker.
You saw Joker.
We should do a trailer in the review.
We will talk about Joker on this episode. We will review the movie and base it based on the trailer itself.
And we're not dressing as him.
Correct. Nix it. We're done.
All right. I do have this Jumanji costume that I wore last year.
What consists of a Jumanji costume? Just like
khaki shorts,
a beige,
and a beige shirt. Yes, exactly.
All right,
yeah,
okay.
some boots. You know,
but Jumanji's not in right now.
It's really not. But
No.
what I think I can do is I can repurpose this Jumanji costume and turn it into a Jungle Cruise costume, because that's more or less what that trailer did.
What?
And speaking of, we should talk about that tonight.
Oh my gosh, we should talk about Jungle Cruise.
We really should.
No, I promise we're not doing this on purpose. This is a costume conversation, and the trailers that we're talking about just happen to be
Sometimes you gotta go out of the box to get things in the box.
I'm so sorry, you guys. This is so embarrassing.
What's going on, man? What's embarrassing you?
Well, last year, Suicide Squad was 2 years old, so I think
it had won the Oscar at that point, so it was safe to dress up as something.
Suicide Squad did?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah.
It had enough cultural clout.
Yeah. The Harley Quinn outfit from Suicide Squad was everywhere. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I definitely have that laying around. I look dynamite in it, by the way.
I remember. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe I can
You
repurpose
rocked the boots well.
Oh, thank you very much. And maybe I can repurpose that into a Fox News correspondent outfit.
You say tomato, I say purveyor of propaganda. Yes, of course.
Oh my gosh, Kevin.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me. Margot Robbie is both Harley Quinn and in the Bombshell trailer about the Fox News scandal.
We're going to talk about Bombshell. All right, cool. Well, we got our costumes.
Yeah.
Kind of figured out. And we also got our trailers figured out. So let's just dive on in, huh?
Let's do it.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Turn the lights, grab a seat, pour yourselves a whiskey neat. It's time to judge the shit out of these future releases by the movie trailers. We're Trailer Hitch. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're Trailer Hitch.
In retrospect, it wouldn't be that hard for me to get khaki shorts, a boring shirt, and then just be like, yeah, I'm in the jungle,
Yeah, of course. You
I'm
throw
an explorer.
You have like vines around you.
Sure.
And that's it. Yeah.
That sounds like too much work. I think I'm just going to stick with the khakis. I'm Kevin.
I'm James.
This is a movie trailer review podcast. We rate and review movie trailers on a scale of need to see more, or never need to see. If James and I both like a trailer, we give it a need to see rating. We go, we see the movie, report back to you guys in a segment called Trailer in the Rear View,
Just like Joker.
which we will be talking about at the end of this episode.
Damn right.
Now, before we can get to that, we are going to be talking about some trailers, too. We do have a new Jungle Cruise trailer. We do have a new trailer for Bombshell that doesn't involve people just standing in an elevator. We will also be talking about the new Doolittle trailer. And because you got to get your double dose of Disney, we're going to also be tuning up Lady the Tramp. Now,
I guess that would be triple dose of Disney because they do Jungle Cruise.
Oh yeah, because we got Jungle Cruise as well. God, they really are taking over everything, aren't they?
It might be all of them. They might own Fox, 20th Century Fox. Do they own like Bombshell?
Maybe they own... Now, before we can get into all of that, we actually wanted to dive into some listener feedback right away.
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
we here at Trailer Hitch, we like to hear from you. We like your thoughts on it.
I encourage it. We like to read this stuff on the episodes.
Yes.
So it's involved. It's feedback. It's a back and forth, you guys. We want to keep it going.
Definitely. And we actually got a piece of listener feedback from our previous episode. You had made a comment about it always feels like trailer seems to drop on Thursdays.
Every time.
And we record on Thursdays
It's
typically.
a perfect storm every time.
We always walk in with this will be our game plan, and then all of a sudden, like 5 trailers come at us. And so you had made an offhanded comment about why does this keep happening? And we actually had someone reach out to us. So Clay, a regular listener of the show, first of all, hello, Clay.
Thanks for contacting us, Clay.
Actually shed some light onto the topic. And the reason why trailers drop on Thursdays is because that's typically when the movies premiere. So if you're in a major city like Los Angeles or New York, movies will premiere on Thursdays instead of Friday. And because the movie was coming out on Thursday, then the studio says, okay, we're just going to throw all of our trailers online.
It's a brand new movie,
Yes.
so we're going to throw some new trailers out also.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that is the mindset behind why trailers get released online on Thursdays.
Okay.
It's because the movie is coming out. It's going to be premiering either that afternoon or later that evening. So at that point, okay, we're also dropping it online too to build hype for the movie.
For sure. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? It all makes sense, but I'm still going to complain about it every single time we record. So, thank you, Clay.
Thank you
That
so
was
much for shedding light on that.
Should we talk about movie trailers, though, now?
Yeah, we should. We should
do it.
absolutely talk about movie trailers. Now, first up, we do have a lady. We do have a tramp. We do...
Hey, watch your mouth.
Wait, no. Sorry, Tony. You hear that?
What? Where?
No, like really close. It sounds like that really... Right, there it is again.
I didn't hear it again.
No, just pay more attention, dude.
Oh my god, there it is. Oh no, damn it, I know what that means.
So,
oh, no.
if you've listened to the past few episodes, you know James and I have talked about, yes, that. Terminator Dark Fate. Now, that has had a trailer every single time we've put out an episode. We've reviewed all of them, and we issued a challenge to that company saying, you can keep putting out trailers, we'll keep talking about them. And it sounds like, yep. They're calling our bluff, but it wasn't. Let's do this. This is the review of the Terminator Dark Fate Red Band trailer.
When they start to kill me, run. What the fuck is that? I don't know.
My name is Sarah Connor. I hunt Terminators.
As Dark Fate would have it, we have another trailer, so let's talk about it. This is the Red Band trailer, which I think at this point now, I've personally stopped counting, because for me, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Totally, man. And it's not even just trailers. I went into, I forget which movie, but I saw a movie in a movie theater, and there was like a quote-unquote sneak peek of Terminator Dark Fate, which gave even more footage. And I'm just like, I couldn't find it online for us to like actually review it, but I was like, how much stuff are they willing to just show everyone?
Listen, Skydance Entertainment, give us that sneak peek. We will talk about it next episode. We're dead serious about it, and you're going to know why, because here we go. We're going to talk about the Red Band trailer.
Let's do it.
Now, it's interesting that you say new footage, because this has abundantly little of that. We're just going to give a brief synopsis because this trailer is pretty brief. So this starts with the gross point blank looking motherfucker Terminator going up to the detainment camp, and they're like, do you have any weapons? He's like, my whole body's a weapon. He breaks in, and these guards try to stop him, and he's slicing up dudes because he's got like liquid metal.
Yeah, he's like a mixture between the T-1000 and the T-800. He's
Yes.
got the endoskeleton, but he's also got the liquid metal stuff that can form into Sharpie Sharp. Which, if you remember from T3 Rise of the Machines, that was also the concept for that Terminator.
Exactly.
So,
what they really
not
should have done,
exactly
because we had
new
one
stuff.
Terminator that was liquid, we had one Terminator that was solid.
Yeah.
Where's our gas Terminator? That's all I'm saying.
we got just like a floating, like, ghastly Pokemon like,
With,
Terminator.
yeah, that just has what looks like young John Cusack's face right in the middle of it. But anyway, so he breaks in and he slices up dudes. Now, if you've been paying attention to the last 17 reviews we have done for this trailer, this will sound familiar. What's new about this? Well, when he slices up these guards, there's blood. And that's it. Okay, we then
Moving
move on to the scene on the freeway where the pretty in pink looking guy is chasing after
He wasn't in Pretty in Pink.
He wasn't? Who
No,
was in Pretty in
John
Pink?
Cryer.
Fuck, really?
You idiot.
You
You moron.
I was like, I
Get
can
your
kill-
John Hughes right.
I was like, I can kill Gross Point Blank. Yo, I should have thought of more John Hughes.
16 Candles. He was in 16
Thank you.
Candles. You're
Okay.
welcome. You're welcome.
So 16 Candles gets lit up like a Roman candle by the rockets of Sarah Connor.
Yes.
And she looks at the good Terminator in quotes and the woman who she's been destined to protect and says, let's go. What's different about this, you may ask? Well, the woman who is supposed to be protected says, who the fuck is that? And that's about it. And then
Moving on.
we're moving on. Arnold Schwarzenegger at the house. And he's like, yeah, everyone calls me Carl. And Sarah Connor looks at him and says, I'm never gonna fucking call you Carl. Now that is new footage, granted. That bit,
was good.
That bit is new footage.
And it's funny.
Okay.
It's funny, too.
It's pretty amusing. Then right at the very end we have Arnold Schwarzenegger and Good Terminator and Sarah Connor hanging out on this airplane. The Identity Terminator gets on to the aircraft. Arnold Schwarzenegger shoots
You mean
him point
Amanda
blank.
Pete?
God damn it, no. I'm talking about John C. McGinley.
Of course.
So he unloads an assault
For all you
rifle.
identity fans out there, I know there's a
It's
lot of
honestly
them.
not that bad. It
No,
holds up okay.
it's really solid, yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger unloads an assault rifle onto Identity's face, and you might be like, what's new about this? Literally nothing.
Yeah,
That's
nothing.
all. That's all from the movie.
That's
I
it.
think the only added bit we had outside of the little things we mentioned is we see Good Terminator whacking Muscle of Dogs in the head with a sledgehammer a couple of times. That's really it. There's abundantly little new footage here. And honestly, in terms of a Red Band trailer, this really skimps on violence. 'cause
Super tame.
So
yeah.
much of it is stuff we've already seen, except now we just CGI'd in some blood. Or
I'm
took
not.
the
I'm
CGI
not a
off the blood,
particular
whatever.
person who like needs like a super gory Red Band trailer, but if
you're
you're
gonna go
if you're
for
gonna
it,
make a Red Band trailer, why not show us what you got? And if this is what you got in terms of R-rated material, maybe you would have been better off making it PG-13 rated. You would
May as
have
well have.
you would have brought in more money probably, but regardless, not
yeah,
much
because
here.
the I'm never gonna fucking call you Carl line. You're correct. Is like it's a solid little line, and I think very good for Sarah Connor. But at the same time, that in of itself isn't really quite enough to justify the Red Band trailer itself.
This Sarah Connor hates this Terminator so much. Because at the end of Judgment Day, didn't she wasn't
She comes around, yeah.
she was in her monologue. She's like, he's like the father John Connor never had, and I see his value now, and like all this kind of crap, right?
Gave you
and
a
then he gives her the
thumbs
thumbs up as he's
Yeah.
going down. Where is this coming from? Where it's like, I need to murder that guy.
Yeah, because
You helped my son
To
not be
what-
such an asshole.
To what I understand, this movie eliminates everything from I think 3 on. So 1 and 2 are still canon
Still
within
canon.
this movie. So you're completely right. Now maybe they're erasing 2 as well. I have no idea.
I've heard
I
rumblings
don't
that
care.
Edward Furlong is in this movie.
Fuck off, really?
There's no way. Maybe we'll keep an eye out.
How gr-
if we see this movie?
Based off of this trailer, because at this point now, fuck a chronology, because clearly the
Oh,
Terminator
they
movies don't care about
no,
the chronology
why
either.
should I?
This Red Band trailer is a never need to see for me. I think I've been at a pretty consistent need to see more.
Yeah, you
with
have.
this throughout. But this particular Red Band trailer, for me, I'm looking at it and saying, why did you even bother with this one?
It's
Don't get me wrong, I'll review more of them.
Yeah.
But like this one added so little to the.
It's
table.
overkill.
Yeah.
And if it were overkill with a lot of bloodshed, maybe I would see its
Mm-hmm.
value. But it's like PG-13 rated overkill, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So this is a never need to see it for me also. Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, well, we're sorry to make you wait, Lady and the Tramp. We are going to finally get to this tune-up. Now, before we had rated this and need to see more,
Yep.
we were pretty unimpressed with that first trailer.
It was more I had issues with
the creepiness of the tramp.
It was just a little predatory,
Very.
Lucifer temptation-y.
Yeah.
You know?
I do.
A lot
I
of
do.
vibes.
I saw that trailer.
A lot of vibes.
So we're going to take a look here and see if the second trailer does the trick for us. Grab your spaghetti. This is Lady and the Tramp.
Let me just take a little guess here. You're the center of your people's universe, right?
You could say that. Your family's just about perfect. Don't. Please don't.
Well, lady! That's basically all over now. You're about to be replaced.
Replace me? I don't think so.
Lady, this is Lulu.
When the baby moves in, the dog moves out.
I swear I've been sitting here for a couple minutes trying to think of anything from Lady and the Tramp other than the spaghetti, and I just can't.
Meatballs.
Right.
Take two.
Right. Take two, and a one, and a two, and
Meatballs.
welcome to Lady and the Tramp, everybody. This is the second trailer. Now, this one more so comes from the perspective of the tramp. That very first trailer is mostly centered on Lady's perspective throughout all of it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see Lady growing up with the family and then grow increasingly disillusioned with them as the baby comes into play. But then all of a sudden she gets tempted by
Lucifer.
what appears to be the mangy mutt of Lucifer to come and join him on this killer night on the town, stealing boats, the whole 9 yards. Now, this trailer focuses on the tramp's perspective at the beginning of it. So it is him running about, basically doing what he's got to do to survive. It's just kind of nice to see his perspective, to see he does have a good heart. Like, he steals some food, but when he sees two puppies that are hungry, he drops that food off for those puppies. So there's clearly some form of altruism in him. He's not purely selfish and looking out for himself. He does have a heart, and that does make me understand why someone like Lady could end up falling for him, even though he is ultimately a nefarious dog. I do think it would be stronger if Lady kind of came to the decision to leave the house more so, because that issue that I had in the first trailer is still present within this trailer too, where she's like, I'm kind of bummed, and then the tramp just kind of sidles his way up and is like, they're gonna start paying attention to you less and less, but I'm here.
He's like playing a game.
But still sort of predatory.
He's still coming from, at least from his perspective, experience.
Right.
And like the things he's saying are not genuinely incorrect, but I think he knows that what he's saying is manipulative. And
exactly.
So that is why it feels weird.
I think a very easy fix is to have Lady be the one to say, I'm being forgotten, and then she kind of heads out on her own, and then she ends up meeting the tramp, who's
she stumbles and needs some help with, like, she gets muzzled.
Sure.
That was a nice moment in the trailer.
Nice moment. Yeah.
But it's like,
but then that way you can have the tramp say, "Oh, you had that happen to you too?" And she's like, "That's a thing," and that can kind of feed more so into their relationship together. Like, that's the very first thing that they can bond about. And I don't remember how it plays in the cartoon. I do think once you bring the material into real life, I would like an extra step or two of thought in that process.
I think so too. I don't think you're incorrect there.
For what it's worth, though, I didn't seem to notice the size difference nearly as much with this trailer. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, well, we got more shots of them together, whereas
the first one, it was really like only one or two sides, and you're like,
camera.
Jesus,
it was like
so much bigger.
Well, it was like A camera, B camera. There was a lot of that, and like with them not sitting next to each other, it felt like, oh my god, that dog is way bigger than the other one. Not so much the case with this, so that's nice. I think this trailer added some elements to that was sorely missing from the first one. There was good humor and there was good heart. The heart with like the little puppies, he's feeding his little puppy pals. Yeah. With a sandwich he stole. It's really sweet at the end too, and they're just all like really cute puppies too, and dogs. So that helps. And then there was a couple funny stuff too. Like he asks if the two poodles are twins, and the one is just like, I'm her husband, dude.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, yep, my mistake. Sorry, sir. Okay, moving on. Yeah, there was more to this that I appreciated.
I think that this trailer is really well cut too, just in the sense of like how it gets its story across, even though I'm not necessarily clicking with all of those story beats.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I think it gets the story across really well, and there's very good creative editing too, because when Tramp steals the sandwich at the beginning and gets chased, he's being chased by someone else, not the guy who he stole the sandwich from. And it took, I think, my third or fourth watch before I was like, oh, wait, I didn't even catch that wasn't the same dude.
Well, he didn't even have a sandwich in his mouth when he was being chased.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like, oh, this is just some clever editing. Okay, well done.
And it took a few tries before I caught on to it, so it's like, you know what? Hey, you guys did it.
And if you made me watch this trailer more than once, also good on you.
Yeah,
I'm watching your trailer more than once. That's usually a good sign.
So let's see, we were both at a need to see more for this. I am going to remain at a need to see more.
After watching this trailer, it's still very solidly a need to see more, but it makes me a little embarrassed because this might be the first time where I watch this trailer and go, I never should have gave that first trailer a need to see more. That was a never need to see it, if I'm being honest. And this would have bumped it up to a need to see more.
Sure. All right, now that we're done talking about those dogs, let's go and actually talk to these dogs, because this next trailer we're going to be talking about is in the teaser trailer showroom. These, by nature, are always going to be need to see more. We're not even going to bother rating them.
Yep.
And we are going to be taking a look at Doolittle.
Are you Dr. Doolittle?
We have no choice but to embark on this perilous journey.
Everyone pack your bags!
I was talking to my friend's cat, and she really seemed to like this trailer, but it's what we think. This is Doolittle.
Yeah, she's not the host of this trailer podcast, Kevin.
You know, I like to try and solicit feedback from everybody.
That's fair, but she's got to write in like the rest of them.
Yes, this is Doolittle. James, you want to give us a little spiel for what we have going on here?
Sure. This is what it all boils down to. Dr. Doolittle is a doctor who talks to animals, played by Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is an American actor. Dr. Doolittle is an English character. Traditionally, not the Eddie Murphy version, but that was also a take on it.
I remember you, Eddie Murphy's Dr. Doolittle. I remember you.
Always.
I'm going into this fucker with my guard up. I'm letting you know now.
Hashtag not my Doolittle.
Not my Doolittle. You're goddamn right.
Eddie Murphy all the way. But the thing is about Robert Downey Jr. is he's already done an English accent before because he plays Sherlock Holmes in the Guy Ritchie movies. Now, after seeing this trailer, I'm under the sneaking suspicion that he is trying very desperately not to do that same voice. And he comes up with this, which is just, my name is Dr. Doolittle. What are you talking about? It's just the cadence of the way he talks. It just feels like he's trying very hard not to sound like his version of Sherlock Holmes.
It does sound like he is trying to avoid having a librarian hear him throughout the entire trailer.
But I digress, Kevin. We still need to talk about the trailer. So, and then apparently there's an adventure. And
of some kind.
And then he tells the gorilla it's okay to be afraid.
Gorilla's like, word, I'm gonna keep doing me then.
He leaves a room and nods at the camera, sort of, but not really at the camera.
He's looking at his office wistfully, like, all of my memories here.
Yep. And then there's a lot of CGI animals. There's ships.
We're going on an adventure.
There's pirates. There's pirates, maybe. I don't know.
What's up with that shit? You have Antonio Banderas with a shaved head.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, so that's the trailer. Let's talk about it, Kevin. What's your hot take on it?
I love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. How
can you not?
I've been so happy with his renaissance. When the Avengers saga came to an end, my thing was Robert Downey Jr. probably needs a nap. And then I saw the trailer for Doolittle and was like, man, he got paid $20 million to nap on camera. And that is the life.
I mean, Disney loves him, man.
Disney does love him, yeah. So I guess this is just kind of like his victory lap. And bear in mind, we have so little to work off of with this trailer. but it definitely doesn't feel like Robert Downey Jr. is capturing the whimsy that's around him very well. I feel like the tone in this trailer is...
Every line he says sounds like it's supposed to be epic.
Exactly.
And
That's
it's
the entire trailer, man.
Yeah, you're
the
right.
The entire trailer, like the music choice.
As far from the source material that the Eddie Murphy Dr. Doolittles were, at least they still captured the genre of this is just silly family entertainment. And this just looks like they're trying to make this a giant Pirates of the Caribbean scale epic. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
why?
I absolutely agree, man. It really reminds me of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh my gosh.
That's
great.
really what's
that's
punching
a great comparison.
high right now.
You mean like the Tim Burton ones?
Correct.
Yeah. And like this is something supposed to be accessible to, and silly and like goofy.
Yeah.
Silly.
Well, it's because
it's a doctor who talks to animals.
Exactly.
That's it. That's the premise.
Mm-hmm.
Some takeaways. That gorilla. When Robert Downey Jr. says it's okay to be sad or afraid, the gorilla is just like, okay, I can do it now because you said it's okay.
You gave me the permission I guess.
No, you gave me the courage to be... To embrace my fear. You can see that all in that gorilla. That gorilla is the best performance in this entire fucking trailer. I'm saying. And then at the end, they list all these names of other people who are in it that you don't see in the trailer.
No.
It's like Octavia Spencer, Thomas Holland,
Selena Gomez.
I'm like, what exactly are you trying to market to me right now with this crap and then just a list of names?
It's so silly. As of right now, God, yeah, there is so little in here for me to really latch onto and to get excited about. Again, this is a teaser trailer showroom. We're not rating it.
Oh, but like they're lucky. They're lucky we're not rating it.
Definitely one of the hardest teasers to not give a rating to.
But here we are,
alas.
Moving on.
All right, well, our dogs are barking from talking about Lady and the Tramp and Doolittle, so let's take a load off and get on a cruise. But be sure to bring the mosquito repellent, because this is a jungle cruise.
Of all the jungle cruises you can take in the Amazon, this one is undoubtedly the cheapest. But also the most thrilling. Heads up, coming through. Look out! Marauders. Natives. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. The backside of water. It's the eighth wonder of the world.
Sure, it doesn't have shuffleboard, but at the very least, it has snakes. This is Jungle Cruise. This is starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Emily Blunt, Jesse Plemons, Paul Giamatti. This is directed by Juan Colette Serra, written by Glenn Ficarra, Michael Green, John Requa. Our random shout-out, because we here at Trailer Hitch like to give random shout-outs to cast and crew members, because the top-billed people tend to hog all the credit. Because there's 165 VFX people covered in this movie, we're going to go into there.
Give them their time to shine, man.
And we are going to shout out Ryan Cronin, who is the senior animator at Weta Digital. Hey, Ryan, thanks for animating the movie, bud, and thanks for your experience and seniority. This is Jungle Cruise, so we're going to start this off, not on a cruise. We are starting this off with Emily Blunt telling us that...
For quite a long time, not on a jungle cruise.
Correct.
This trailer starts off.
We have Emily Blunt telling us that there is some magical flower out in the jungle that has wild medicinal properties.
Yep.
Like it can effectively cure all.
It's like the Fountain of Youth tree or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So she is going to find information within this museum, and then all of a sudden, guards. But she's able to, through cunning and through acrobatics and frankly kind of dumb luck.
Oh, very dumb luck.
She's able to get out of that bucket of syrup and into a bus with a bunch of soldiers. Now, after that, we then head to the Jungle Cruise. Now, we have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Dwayne takes these people out on a jungle cruise. For those who have been to the Disneyland park, it's not that dissimilar from the actual Jungle Cruise ride, in which it's a very wry captain who is calling out different things in different sites, but there's still action and mayhem. Like, we have a group of natives who are shooting blow darts at the cruise itself. We also have animals popping out of the water and Dwayne Johnson basically being like, get away.
Yeah, shoo.
And it culminates in what is probably the laziest water slide of all time that Dwayne Johnson tries to make into a big deal. Doesn't go great.
The backside of water bit was very disappointing in this trailer.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's supposed to be, but for fans of the ride, I think any fan of the ride would feel a little disappointed.
We'll get to the comparisons between the ride itself and the actual property in a little bit. So
basically, shut the hell up, James.
You're goddamn right. I'm still doing a synopsis, baby.
I forgot.
So The Rock
we got a lot to cover.
The Rock is in his office when Emily Blunt knocks on the door and says, "My brother and I want to commission you to go out into the jungle."
Which, do we see her brother?
Fuck no, we don't. I was about to bring that up. Bug the shit out of me, but whatever. Yeah. She's like, we want to go on this cruise. Rock's like, no can do. And she's like, I'll pay you a lot of money. And he's like, okay. So it's like, okay, I guess he's just motivated by, just
money.
Whatever. Yeah. He doesn't actually give a shit.
Well, he is a scam artist. It was set up from the cruise he was running.
Sure.
Literally everything was fake.
Yeah.
Like the hippo, the native people, the backside of water. It was all just fake stuff.
And I feel like they could have hit all those jokes way harder.
I think they should have. I think they should have. Yeah.
Anyway, but then they go out on this cruise to actually find something, and they actually encounter real danger. We have the waterfall, which that's the only way I can justify the backside of water joke at the beginning is it's a parallelism with the waterfall that they end up having to face later in the trailer. At the very end of the trailer, they see a guy that's covered in vines, and Emily Blunt goes, "The myth is real," and that's Jungle Cruise.
I think midway through the trailer, there was also something very equally like CGI-y looking. I can't even really clock it. Man, this whole like mystical supernatural side of it, I don't really know.
So here's the deal. When you were talking about Doolittle,
yeah,
you were saying, oh, this feels like they went way too in an adventure and action.
Epic. They went for epic.
They went way too epic and adventure. This feels like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie when it really shouldn't. I don't think that serves the material. I was sitting back and going, fuck me, this is everything I was about to say about Jungle Cruise. Because that's
you
can still
say it.
Disney has a type.
Disney
now,
be fucking up.
That guy at the end who's got all the vines and shit, that just screamed Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean.
For sure. And as good of an effect as Davy Jones was, it's still like, what is this doing here?
What is this doing in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, or what is this doing in Jungle Cruise?
Exactly, yeah. And so, yeah, like we can talk a little bit about it. The juxtaposition between the rides. So, Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride, is not like Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie. The ride is very relaxing. It's very serene. Maybe the only major comparison I can make between the two is, let's be real, they're both a little long.
Well,
other than that,
I'd say for Pirates of the Caribbean, I would say the first third of it is creepy. It's a short section of it, but it really like makes you feel uneasy. Then you have a little drop, then things just get goofy and fun.
Sure. For
the rest of the ride. So the movies for Pirates of the Caribbean are, I would say, more of a 50-50 of creepy and fun. The balance isn't correct with the ride.
But at the same
balance
time,
of Jungle Cruise.
But at the same time, I feel like it makes sense for Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I'm not looking for you to...
They're pirates.
Give me... Yeah, I'm not looking...
They go on adventures.
Exactly, yeah. It would have been weird if it was just a bunch of pirates in a very slow boat looking over
drinking?
And seeing... No, like just a bunch of pirates looking over and saying, what's that restaurant over there? And someone leaning in and being like, oh, it's the restaurant. You get in through this area. It's really expensive, though. You don't want to go there.
The Blue Bayou you're talking about?
Exactly. That wouldn't be that fulfilling of a movie. So, of course, yeah, I think the route that they took with Pirates of the Caribbean makes a ton of sense. Now, Jungle Cruise, being on that ride, my gut, if you were going to say let's make a movie about this, is okay, this is going to be a comedy of errors, like what the ride feels like itself. I think if Pirates of the Caribbean didn't exist, I would be fine with Jungle Cruise being a big rollicking adventure, but at the same time, Pirates of the Caribbean totally exists, and this does kind of feel like a double dip. And I made the joke about Jumanji at the beginning of this podcast, and that's because it not only does it feel familiar with that, but we also have like a pretty solid Jumanji movie that came out a year prior with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it.
Right? Yeah.
And it just kind of feels all a bit too familiar. And in addition to that, again, I feel bad because I like a lot of these actors. I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson can be extremely funny.
Oh, absolutely.
But his delivery within this does not work for me. Like, I think he's going for dry humor, but most of the time it just kind of comes off as sleepy or detached in some ways that I don't really think fits, especially once we get into the rollicking adventure segment.
Yeah, the only thing that comes close to, like, not feeling dry and lame was he said it's 10,000 alive, 15,000 dead. She's like, oh, it's more dead? He's like, well, dead I have to carry you. Dead is much harder. His delivery there wasn't terrible. But, I mean, all your points are still totally there.
Again, really is not doing much of anything for me. I'm right now at a never need to see with this. How about you, James?
Yeah, I've had so much time to think about it, and I'm still, like, letting this come down to the wire of how I actually feel about this, of if it's a never or a need to see more.
Let's do our famous trailer Hitch coin flip.
The coin flip. It's in every episode, believe it or not. We just cut that part out. This is a never need to see it for me as well, I think. It was very disappointing. There's been a lot of hype for this, too, on Disney's side of things.
It's because, for those who have never been, the ride itself is genuinely a ton of fun.
It's a damn delight. Whether it's a terrible captain or an amazing skipper captain, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have a fun time anyway. Mm-hmm. And this doesn't look like
a fun time.
You can have a fun time no matter what kind of movie it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, all right, that was a pretty big bombshell to drop. Which, speaking of bombshells,
hey now,
we got another one to talk about.
Fox News star Gretchen Carlson dropped a major bombshell today.
What is she doing?
This could kill Fox News.
We need everyone on Team Roger.
Get it on. Put it on.
These are the end times.
You do understand I have to be above this, right?
You know the entire country is talking about your period right now.
So you're a tough guy, like you really will.
Dropping knowledge and blondes. This is Bombshell, directed by Jay Roach. This is starring Margot Robbie, Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Darcy Carden. Oh God, there's so many more people. Allison Janney, Mark Duplass. And they're still going. Richard Kind, Malcolm McDowell, John Lithgow.
Kate McKinnon was in the trailer.
Kate McKinnon. Stephen Root's in this? Jesus. All right. Well, our random shout out. I'm going to dig all the way at the bottom of this cast list here. I am going to shout out Cadence Murray, who plays a tourist. Hey, Cadence, good job, bud. You're in a movie with a lot of other people.
Well done.
James,
yeah,
give us the scoop here. What's going on in Bombshell?
All right, so we are at Fox News. We have Kate McKinnon telling a new employee what makes a Fox News story, and that kind of like sets the tone for what the rest of the trailer is going to be, because she's saying it in kind of like a comedic way, but also it's like, no, this is legitimately what we're about, though. So either get on the same page or get the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Then we move on to Charlize Theron's character and Nicole Kidman's character, who have been at Fox News for, a tenure. Like, they are employees there. They have been employees there for a long time. We get the sense that Nicole Kidman is starting to bring some allegations to light. Or she wants to.
Well, you see her getting undermined on the show, and she's talking to two lawyers and saying, it's so much worse off
Way worse off camera. Yeah. So we get that set up. So we know there's some uneasiness happening. Then we're introduced to Charlize Theron's character, Megyn Kelly.
Yep.
Real person who gets ousted by Donald Trump for having a period, and that's it, essentially.
Yep. Well, I get the sense that she criticizes Trump in some way, and he's like, well, is she on
Of
a period?
course she criticizes him in some way. Why else would he say that?
We could get into it, but
we won't get into it because we're not a political show.
We are PC as fuck.
We are PC as fuck here. We try to keep it good for everyone, except people who can't hear the word fuck. So from there on, it seems like she's going to be roped into the goings-on of Fox News and how it is a hostile environment for females to be employed there. So that's kind of where we are at with this.
But here's the really interesting thing. We then have Margot Robbie talking to Roger Ailes, who is the chairman head of Fox News.
It must have been Roger Ailes because that's all I saw when I looked at him. Definitely not John Lithgow in pounds and pounds of makeup. And prosthetics.
And he slicked his hair back. Roger Ailes is talking to Margot Robbie, who's super hungry. She's like, I want to do whatever I can to be an on-camera personality.
I will do
Fox News.
Freaking anything.
And the head of Fox News is like, cool, well, I need to know that you're a team player. A wink.
A wink, a wink.
And what makes it interesting is then that's Margot Robbie's context within the sexual assault allegations that are going to be coming to foray. She is basically the mole within this group. And that's where this trailer got substantially more interesting. Not that the story itself isn't, but the fact that they were actively trying to sabotage it before it even started.
I'm sorry, do we know from the trailer that is what was happening? That she was like trying to set herself up as a mole?
That's what I was reading on.
Because I didn't really get a part of the trailer that showed us that Margot Robbie's character was...
So I get Roger Ailes is highly suggesting you have to be a team player and you have to do what you have to do to be here.
Of course, yeah.
It's then immediately cutting to Margot Robbie in the elevator looking at the other two women. And that completely changed the context of what she was doing in the elevator to me, where it's like,
oh yeah,
I'm here to help you, and like, yeah, like, oorah, like, we're going to get him. But at the same time, she also has the literal devil of Roger Ailes on her shoulder saying, but if you fuck them over, I can give you whatever you want.
Right, okay.
And because otherwise it bankrupts Fox News. Like, that's what's at stake for the company if they push forward with all of the allegations they have against the company of sexual discrimination. That's really where it gets even more fascinating to me, was the fact that they were trying to mudsling it before it even became public.
Yeah.
And like, I think it just adds a very interesting rift in the story itself, and within the movie too. It adds such a juicy layer of conflict in the middle of this. I loved seeing the Team Roger t-shirts, but them like throwing them at people and saying, put that on right now.
Yeah, the aggressive nature of being like, be a team player or we're going to kill you type of attitude. Yeah.
And it is just kind of fascinating to see that power structure eroding and what they were doing in order to try and keep that power for themselves.
It's not like everyone can have their own opinion. It's, no, your opinion is whatever we tell you
it's our opinion as a company.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ridiculous. Anyway.
And yes, you're correct. It's like very dispiriting. But at the same time, this is the reality for that company.
Yeah.
And it's also the reality that a lot of people are choosing to get their news from too, which, by the way, hi to my uncle and every other uncle that just tuned in for this review.
Oh, they're listening? Great.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm a big fan of the Hire clan over here.
I was very fascinated by this. I thought that all the performances were good. I thought there was a decent amount of levity within this trailer.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the technicals. The performances were good. I thought Nicole Kidman's performance is still a little odd to me.
She's the one that I look at and I'm like, you are that actor playing a Fox.
Yeah, maybe it's the wig. Maybe the wig is very throwing me off.
We were calling out the wig in the teaser that we reviewed. And yeah, that's still the case.
Yeah, but otherwise,
Charlize
Theron, where did you go? And how did you get Megyn Kelly to just like be on set for you? It's insane to me. That stuff is really good. I think the trailers paced really well.
Definitely.
I didn't once like lose interest in any aspect of it. And then great music choice. I think he used Billie Eilish.
I think the Billie Eilish use in here did give like a little bit of pep to the step about halfway through the trailer.
Yeah, it brought some life to it, didn't it?
I think the song choice in this case is interesting because Brightburn, it's just, you get it? Because Superman's bad. And it's like, fuck you. But here, it's interesting because everyone at Fox News, really, when you think about it, is kind of the bad guy. Like they're propagating clearly untrue material onto people and passing it off as news, which isn't purely my editorializing. This is how the trailer posits it right at the beginning. Here is your slant for every fucking news
correct.
story.
That is not us having an opinion on Fox News. That is us saying what the trailer is saying Fox News is.
That's simply the story the trailer is giving me. We're not saying Fox News is terrible at all. No.
Nor will you ever hear me say that.
Hi to our uncles. So what's interesting is that's how the trailer is throwing it out at us. And so it's like everyone there is the bad guy, but then we also have like a shifting train of thought with that in the sense of Megyn Kelly and company are kind of the quote-unquote bad guy for trying to dismantle it.
In the context of your coworkers, you're the bad guy, but...
Exactly, yes.
That's really interesting.
And so I'm really interested in this. I like the kind of verite style they're doing. I know this is more or less... It's directed by Jay Roach, but I know this is basically how Adam McKay has... It
really did feel like The Big Short or Vice. It felt very much like that.
It does feel very much like that. I do think that this works a little bit better for me because Vice and The Big Short throws a lot of style into it too. Like cutaways and narration and other elements of style within Adam McKay's work. Whereas with this, it doesn't seem like we're going that way at all, at least from what the trailers had been telling us. And so for me, the verite style is hitting a little bit harder here because now it does kind of feel like this is kind of like the secret document that we managed to get out through underneath Fox News' door. I'm very interested in this. My man, what would you give this?
I'm giving this a need to see it. I find this kind of thing, just in terms of political intrigue, I think is really fascinating. All types, even dry stuff like The Post with
Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks.
I loved that movie. And everyone was like, this is a drag bore of a film. But I still find those things fascinating. But this has that plus the added stylize that I think is very interesting and exciting and energetic. It makes it more of an entertaining film. Whereas The Post was just interesting. I found it fascinating. But in terms of entertainment, this looks like it can deliver on both fronts. So that's why it's a need to see it for me.
Here's the deal about that. It's a need to see for me as well.
Yeah, Kevin, you always had me going. You had me going for a second. We're both going to drink like we both have whiskey left. But we're both empty.
which is a shame because we have to talk about the Joker still, man.
We'll get a refill. How about that?
We'll get a refill for the Joker, especially. Okay, but yes, before we go on, huge ups to the Bombshell trailer. We will definitely be seeing this when it drops in theaters. We'll report back to you guys about it. Now, before we even get to Joker, we did want to touch on one more thing. And that is, surprise y'all, we're talking about Tenet. Okay, that's where the audio for Tenet would go if we had audio for Tenet.
This is Christopher Nolan's next film, Tenet. Here's where we talk about it. The teaser that isn't available for anyone online.
Nope. Yeah, the entire crux of the release for that teaser was it was going to be theater only, which not only will we respect, clearly theaters are respecting that, But even the pirates are respecting that. I can't even find a pirated copy
I can't
of this
find
fucking
anything.
thing.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
But we can talk about it. It's
just very briefly.
I haven't been embargoed from talking about it.
Correct. Don't fight me, Nolan.
Yeah, right. I don't think they're worried about us talking about it because there's not really much to talk about.
Not really. There's a bullet hole, and John David Washington studies the shit out of it.
And he's got like a gas mask on at some point, right? Let's move on, Kevin. I wish we could talk about more for you guys, but we will talk about it when a full trailer comes out.
Well, and
for
something
sure.
especially that you would be able to just go online and see. That's a big thing with us at Trailer Hitch, is you being able to then go and see the trailer for yourself and make your own judgment.
Absolutely,
on it. And
yeah.
maybe you have a wildly different take than us, or a very similar take as us. And if that's the case, you should write in at trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com, baby. We are going to move on because we are going to be talking about something that puts a smile on her face. James is dancing very strangely, but fluidly for this next one. This, folks, is Joker.
I have some bad news for you. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you? You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
All right, he's a joker. He's a smoker. But he's not a midnight toker, and maybe that would have helped level him out.
You know what?
Regardless, this is Joker.
I really hope you did that joke already in a previous Joker
I think
review.
I think I made a space cowboy joke.
Okay. So it's fair. It's different.
This time I hit the chorus because now we're talking about the actual movie. But before we talk about the actual movie, we're going to be comparing and contrasting with the trailer itself. So we're avoiding spoilers for this little portion of it because
Absolutely.
we're just looking at the trailer, now having seen the movie, and trying to dissect whether this set us up properly for the film. Right out the gate, I will say yes. I feel like this trailer, and I'm specifically talking about the final trailer, but I feel like the first trailer does just as much.
I think it does too, but yeah, we're gonna focus more on that last trailer, the final theatrical trailer before it got released.
Now, what I'm surprised by with the trailer is how deep into the movie it cuts, because it ends with, when you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? And that's within the last 20 goddamn minutes of the film.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the end of the movie.
It's one of those things where, having seen the movie, I don't feel like the trailers gave away too much.
They really didn't.
There were still
kudos.
Yeah,
to
there
you.
were still plenty of surprises within the movie as I was watching it. The style that's present in the trailer definitely comes through in the movie itself, so I feel like that adequately gave me what I was in for. I think the biggest omission within the trailers is some of the more art house touches that are within the movie itself. So, not to get into spoilers yet, so I'll just say Joker dancing.
Hey, that's in the trailers.
I think that's in the first one.
He dances in the trailers.
But that in the moment in which it happens in the film and how it's conveyed, I feel is kind of atypical to what you would see in a major comic book movie. There are those lighter touches, and whether or not all of those are successful, we'll get into once we get into the review.
Absolutely.
But I do feel like it really hits on the Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, like the classic 70s Martin Scorsese influence really, really hard.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's what you get throughout a lot of the Joker 2. And so overall, I would say that the trailer does a very good job selling you on what the movie is going to be.
You know, it's everything. It's the style, the tone of it, in story, too. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't ever feel misled by the story presented from the trailer in the movie at all. Hell, even the songs, I feel like, were most of them that were in the marketing were also in the movie. It's like,
there were still some left turns within the movie itself.
There's no way I could have given this any less than you sold the movie properly.
Yeah.
Like, thumbs up. Like, when it comes to us reviewing the movie compared to the trailer, it's either did you sell the movie properly or did you not sell the movie properly? Mm-hmm. And this is a 2 thumbs up. You told us what we were going to get. We saw that movie, we got that thing.
Now, a criticism I had for that final trailer was it felt like the movie was stacking the deck against Joker throughout it, where it felt like, almost to a degree in which it was manipulative, it was piling on him. It's like, his life totally sucks, and even though his joke saying, when I told everyone I was going to be a comedian, no one laughed, well, no one's laughing now, well, you can say that again. It's like, it's pretty clear that that is the joke, but the movie is trying to get you on Arthur's side and to get you as angry as Arthur is for him to do the heinous acts that he does throughout the movie. Yeah, it sells that too. That's definitely in the movie, and we'll get into that for the review. Do you want to get into the review of the movie?
Let's dive in. So we're going to talk about spoilers now, everyone.
From here on out, we're doing spoilers.
So if you have not seen Joker yet, go ahead and skip to the end, or just turn this off.
Gary Glitter in the middle of a very dark 70s influenced movie. We're going to be doing some left turns here.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to start off, I'm going to get very specific. When I was in high school, college...
Oh, we're going way back.
We're going way back. I was in a lot of creative writing courses, whether it be fiction or playwriting or memoir, what have you. And I felt like in every class there was one dude who was very quiet and very intense. Never talked in class, and when it got to reading his story, it was always super fucking violent, to the point of it being depraved. The main character was always shown in as sympathetic light as possible, even though he was propagating very terrible acts. And when it was done being read, you could tell the class was visibly uncomfortable.
And he went, mission accomplished.
Basically,
he or she went, mission accomplished.
In my case, it was always dudes. Maybe there are women who write like really vicious shit like this too in your creative writing classes. And my initial impression of Joker is it felt a lot like that short story, like that clearly someone trying to be a provocateur would write, plus $50 million. Is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like a lot of the violence in here, it's a mix. I feel like some of it is earned and some of it is very interesting. I think that the subway scene is really good because...
It is, it starts as... It subjectively starts as... This was self-defense.
Well, the first two. The third guy...
That's why I'm saying starts as.
Very good. Very good.
Very clearly wanted to make that distinction. That's why the scene is so fascinating, because it starts that way. You can't help but go, he could have been within an inch of his life there. Like, that was measures that was necessary.
Yeah. He maybe didn't have to aim for the head, but, like, in that moment, you should fire the gun.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have a gun on you. You have the means to protect yourself from oncoming...
serious injury,
yeah. If not death, then protect yourself. The first one, for sure. Second one, maybe. You could definitely argue it in court. I'll give you that. The third one... Oh
he
boy,
hunts him down.
Have I ever seen someone go from
justified,
just complete justified self-defense to... I'm a murdering serial killer now.
Yes.
I saw it in a movie for the first time while watching The Joker.
Yeah.
It was world and it was interesting. It was fascinating. I wouldn't take anything away from that scene.
I feel like that scene is great because it starts with, he's earnestly trying to protect himself. And then you just see over the course of that scene him unraveling. Because yes, like the first bullet, you gotta do what you gotta do. Second bullet, they were really freaked out by the first bullet. You probably didn't have to fire that second bullet. The third bullet is purely you.
Came much later.
It's
so
purely,
much later.
Yeah, man. It's him purely trying to save his skin. And in order to do that, I'm going to kill this last guy so there are no witnesses. And I can protect myself.
But I think there was a hint of it, too, that I felt like he was still on an adrenaline high while he was chasing this third guy down.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just a mental thought. It wasn't just a conscious thought of, I need to clean up my mess and make sure there's no witnesses. This guy was, like, on a high after the first two, and he would not let this go?
I think it's honestly a combination of the two. I definitely got a lot of fear from Joaquin Phoenix in that scene. I caught a lot of indecision as he fired that last bullet. Am I going to commit to this? Bang, guess I did. And then he runs. And then he gets into that bathroom and then dances. And like that's really the moment where he becomes the Joker. And I think my biggest problem with the movie is it doesn't really have a lot of other places to go until the very end. Because
it kind of it meanders from that moment until him prepping to go on the show in his own apartment.
Waiting for a phone call that he doesn't even know is coming. Yeah.
It meanders for a while. Or no, sorry. I was even just going to say...
There's stuff that happens.
When he's getting ready for the show. When his coworkers come by.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
I'm saying between the subway scene and that scene, it felt like it kind of meandered for a while.
Definitely.
But there was some good comic booky stuff in it that I appreciated in that middle stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's good comic booky stuff and there's good art house stuff. I mean, the scene where he just fucking pulls an Indiana Jones 4 and jumps into his refrigerator to try and hide away from the world is like, wow, okay, I believe this guy has lost it. Yeah, there's a lot going on with Thomas Wayne, and in the sense that...
Wildly interesting...
He might be
Joker origin take, like a take on this kind of origin, how he could be.
He's Batman's brother, or is he? Probably not. Not probably not.
It's interesting because he could be the half brother of Bruce Wayne. There's a lot to unpack there that could be really awesome. But even if he's not, the fact that he still believes he is, even though there's proof that he's not, still makes it an interesting origin story.
Yeah.
It's still a guy who at his core, even if it's not true, has this weird mental untrue connection to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
That he won't let go of.
Well, and it's one of those
like
things
it's
where
so good.
I think the kernel that is there is like some legitimacy to it, which is Thomas Wayne could have just been like, oh yeah, she's crazy. And given that he's super fucking rich,
he has the means.
He has the means to effectively discredit
this under the rug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like there's enough there where I do read it as ambiguous, where it could go.
It's ambiguous.
And I feel like the confusion that we as an audience feel is to put us in Arthur's shoes and have him be confused, and given that confusion, he doesn't know where to lash out to, and all of a sudden he gets a phone call to go on to a talk show for someone who hurt his feelings. I will also say, in terms of something I like, I really enjoyed the twist with Zazie Beetz.
For those who don't know, Zazie Beetz was his apartment neighbor.
Yeah,
and
lives down the hall from him.
And then throughout the movie, you kind of get the sense that, hey, they
have one interaction in the elevator.
Yep.
There's a really good moment where Zazie Beetz is kind of exhausted by her kid, so she mimics shooting herself in the head, just as kind of like, oh, what a day.
What a day. You're right.
And they exit the elevator, and Joker looks back and says, hey, and the means in which he connects with her isn't her exhaustion, but in the violence. He pretends to shoot himself in the head, but goes way over the top with it. And it clearly makes her uncomfortable, and then she walks away. And then all of a sudden there's a knock on his door at some point, and it's Zazie Beetz being like, hey, you followed me. That was pretty cool.
But also it's like, did you know in that moment? Because I didn't.
Not necessarily.
Because how we're selling it right now is a joke of like, hey, you've been stalking me. I'm into that. But
that's how it's played.
But I know on paper. But in the moment, I didn't feel that way. It felt genuine.
In the moment, I was
How did I fall for that?
In the moment, I was
like, wondering.
I don't know if you would be cool with that, especially because you have a kid. And it's one of those things where I didn't catch this. Actually, the person who I saw it with was the person who pointed it out after the fact. I was like, something kind of feels off in it, but I was just kind of looking at it in the broader narrative term of, this is very much a trope of just having, there's this girl who sees something in this very broken person.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is that's what I bought. And I bought it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think of it.
What my friend caught, and he was telling me after the fact, was, From that point on, you don't see her kid. I realized, fuck, you're right, because that's not something Arthur would want to have to deal with. So from that point on, all of his imagined interactions with Zazie Beetz omit the kid.
Well, the one time I thought of it, he was like, hey, I'm a stand-up comic. You should come to one of my stand-up comedies one time. Mm. And in my brain, I filled in the next line for her, which was, assuming I can get a sitter, sure. Because that's what a rational single mother would say. But instead, she goes, yeah, you just let me know the time. And I'm in my brain.
Free whenever.
Yeah, and in my brain, I was just like, well, it's a movie. So I guess she has a babysitter on call all the time.
Sure.
At the end of the movie, when he walks into her apartment, for real, I didn't know it then. I thought, oh, he's just like going in. She left her apartment unlocked. She's going to be scared because he's definitely in a weird state right now. And this is going to like ruin their relationship. That's what I thought. But then she turned around the corner and the look on her face wasn't, oh, Arthur's in a weird spot. It's, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, and it's specifically the line, you're the guy from down the hall,
well, yeah,
right?
That is when everyone should know. Yes. I'm saying the look on her face, though,
definitely.
is when I knew. This has all been in his head.
And if you don't catch it at that point, then they do the Fight Club. We're going to show you all of the times where
which was a little overkill, but also I would forgive it. Because,
I'd forgive it too.
Yeah, it's because different people catch on at different times, obviously.
Clearly.
You caught in at a different time than I did. I think that was handled really well. It's really interesting
it's a very good subversion of that trope, of this girl just sees something in you for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's like...
She doesn't.
No, it's fake.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It's clearly him just trying to amass some level of confidence and to shatter that for him. And it's one of those things where I do think that's clever, but after he kills 3 dudes on a subway, I don't really need that anymore necessarily. It's like I feel like he's kind of hit a point as the Joker. Like, he's the Joker now. He just committed cold-blooded murder, at the very least on the dude on the stairwell.
The last guy, that was... Yeah. He's a psychopath at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like I kind of wanted to see more of that level of unravel of him just embracing who he is.
Which we got a little bit, though, with his coworkers.
A little bit. Or I wanted to see him have outs. Now... I will say Joker is an incredibly cynical movie because I think like a lot of the discourse around the movie is whether or not it portrays mental illness well. And my answer is no, it doesn't. It's...
Okay, we're talking about it now. At the end of the day, when I got out of that movie, I knew it was a well-made movie. Mm-hmm. And I
cinematography's great.
I thought
score was really good.
It looked fantastic. Yeah. It was acted superbly. It was even directed really well. Like it's a really well-made movie. The fact that I was still troubled by certain things has me really hesitant about maybe wanting to even see it ever again. Like you said, with the mental illness aspect, I think it kind of lays some troubling groundwork, and I'm not of the type of person to be like, well, this kind of movie or video game entices this type of violence. I'm not like that kind of person. But there was something troubling about this movie and the way it depicted mental illness. And I thought troubling was a good word. And that's really kind of like what I ended up with. And it's weird. I ended it and I'm like, I'm going to have to think about this movie a lot. I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I still haven't really been able to come up with anything better than it was slightly troubling.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. I think what's troubling for me, because I'm very much like you, man, where I don't think that art in of itself is enough to incite violence.
I honestly
don't.
And
I think in the instances where it does incite violence, you're not going to be able to pinpoint what exactly is going to incite violence. So the reason why John Lennon is dead is because the Catcher in the Rye exists. And there is nothing within those 26 chapters that says, you know what you should do? You should find the biggest pop star in the world and shoot him.
I love Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
And never once have I thought, you know what I'm going to do.
Exactly,
yeah.
man. And so it's one of those things where, like, sure, like, there are people who can be inspired by art, but at the same time, like, you don't know what's going to be the trigger for someone.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
I think that if, like, 99% of people who play Doom and listen to Marilyn Manson and watch South Park don't go on to do Columbine, then I think what that tells you is those three things are not at fault for Columbine.
Yeah.
And I think to presuppose a narrative that, well, that plays a factor, it's like there are too many factors for you to say that's exactly what did it. And since so many people don't do that, it's really hard to argue that. And additionally, it's not like the gun argument of, well, most people who have guns, like, practice them safely and shit like that. No, guns are specifically made to fire them. A piece of art is made to be consumed. Like, it's not a one-to-one.
I think certain documentaries are made to not just consume,
there are
but
documentaries
a cause
that are
to action.
Yeah, calls to action.
But
exactly.
Most
Documentaries are more like, you should probably think more before you eat that. You should probably not eat McDonald's every day for 30 fucking days.
Either you should not eat McDonald's every day for 30 days, or if you ate McDonald's every day for 30 days, it's fine as long as you exercise. It's like it's one of the other.
Yeah, totally, man.
So
now, what I will say about Joker is, for me, it's not necessarily mentally ill person committing violence, and if I squint super hard, I can get incel shit out of this. That's not necessarily what I'm commenting on. For me, what I'm commenting on is Arthur is mentally ill without a specific mental illness, which you don't have to be specific. But I think they're blanketing a lot of different versions of mental illness in one person. And what it's presupposing is, because Arthur has medication, he has therapy. With the dwarf...
Bad therapy?
Bad therapy. Sure. And we'll get to that stuff in a second. I read the dwarf as genuinely being friendly. Like, the dwarf would listen to Arthur if Arthur went out of his way to talk to him. So it's like he has medication, he has therapy, he has access to a friend. And with all of those things, nope, doesn't matter. He's broken. He's going to turn into a violent criminal because he had like a really bad run of luck. And I feel like that's deeply cynical and very dismissive of people who have mental illness.
Yeah, it's frustrating because when we were talking about the trailers a lot, you were concerned about the movie painting Arthur Fleck in the light of, we're just gonna, what was the movie you referenced? Bicycle Thief?
Bicycle Thieves.
Was it the
yes.
Bicycle?
Yes.
So it's just like, we're just gonna show this guy getting the shit kicked out of him the whole time, and then you're gonna feel bad.
40 minutes, yeah.
So it did feel like that, but I think you could have had your cake and eat it too, and I think there was a little too much of it. I'm agreeing with yourself from talking about the trailers. I think there was a little too much of that, and not enough of him doing bad things. He did some horrible things in this movie, but I don't think the horrible things he did was enough to counteract how much the movie was saying he was already damaged.
Yeah.
And that was really troubling for me, because when you look at things like The Killing Joke, which is an amazing comic book, and it is a perfect origin for the Joker, it does paint him in the light of someone who gets the shit kicked out of him a bit, right?
Yeah.
But it still shows him consciously, not mentally ill, making bad decisions.
Yes.
And those bad decisions are the reason his life goes south.
Dude, that's exactly what I was missing from this movie.
And
that's why I bring up, like, oh, he could have went and talked to his friend who was a dwarf. And sure, his therapist is clearly not helping him at all. Get a different fucking therapist.
Well, and it's not even like it's the therapist's fault, but it's
clear
more,
she's not a good match.
It's the organization. It's like the whole system is messed up.
And I'm just going to time out to say, just because as long as we're talking about mental illness, just so everyone knows, I've been to therapy and I've been through a number of therapists. If you go to a couple of therapy sessions and you're like, I don't think this person listens to me, get a new therapist. That's how it works.
You should not even think twice about it. And
And
don't
if
even
you-
feel bad about it.
And if you tell that therapist, they're going to be like, okay, I understand. I hope the next person does a good job.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's not
supposed to be a connection.
Yes.
It's not like one therapist has the answers for every single person.
Exactly.
And I have seen a lot of therapists too, and I found one that I absolutely loved when I was younger, living in Wisconsin, and that's why I'm such an advocate for getting good therapy. That's why if you don't feel a connection with someone, move on. It's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But
coming back to the movie, it's like they were removing a lot of choices from Arthur, where it's like, okay, your therapist isn't that great. Oh, but by the way, now all of a sudden all of the funding is being pulled for this program, so now you don't have therapy at all, and now you also don't have access to medication.
Yeah.
Okay, really like the only major choice I can see where it's like, oh, you did something wrong and that's what led to that, is him losing his job. It's because he brings the gun to the children's hospital.
Again, but that was just an accident, though.
But even then,
it ended up just being an accident.
It's not like he's pulling the gun out to be like, look at this, kids.
Yeah.
It drops out of his pants.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, he definitely does a lot of horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
He kills his mother.
Smothers her, yeah.
He smothers her with a pillow just because possibly she lied to him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, one way or the other, she definitely lied to him. But she's got her own issues. So he kills his mother. He kills his coworker.
God,
and then
dude, that scene.
The coworker scene is very intense.
Yeah, it's because he's locking the door to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know he's made his mind up for what he's going to do before he does it. And then he kills his coworker, the dwarf who's there. Then there's a really shitty joke where the dwarf can't unlock the door. There were people laughing in my screening, and it's like, dude, no, this is like really uncomfortable. And the Joker unlocks the door and then says, hey, you were the only one who was nice to me, and I appreciate that. And that to me was the moment where I was like, this feels like the fucking short story I would read time and time again when I was in high school and college.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes at that moment because it did feel like any one person who has even thought about doing a heinous act like that, them going, well, as long as you're nice to me, you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. And
heinous acts.
And here's the deal. So it's one of those things where there are a lot of movies that get brought up in conjunction with the Joker, and Taxi Driver is a big one among them. And obviously Taxi Driver focuses on a very damaged person who commits like a really intense act of violence at the end of the film. And I want to point out that a huge difference between Taxi Driver and Joker is Taxi Driver, he's not vindicated. Like, he commits this really violent act to do something that is important to him, but at the same time, in Joker, he commits a violent act. He shoots Robert De Niro on camera, and then all of a sudden the city rises up and there are people who presuppose him as a hero. That's a clear act of vindication
for him. I mean,
and it's like a citywide thing. It's not the personal vindication of Taxi Driver. It's you now have an entire group of people who are willing to hit a fucking cop car and break you out.
But I mean, for the audience, though, it's not vindication because all of the things that those followers are doing are heinous acts also. So at least most of the audience member can realize the things he is enticing are bad too.
Yeah, and I can totally see where you're coming from there, but what gets frustrating is
grasping at straws here, Kevin.
But like the point that it's trying to make, because all of the things that the people in the Joker masks are initially mad about is Thomas Wayne saying, you know, like these poor destitute people who are killing our best and brightest are clowns. And so really, like, all these people are protesting from a class standpoint of, like, we're all struggling and you are going to see a Chaplin movie and you get your own private bathroom when you do it. Like, those are very real things to be upset about and to protest about. And so then they all kind of look at Joker, who is clearly violence for violence sake. He tells you in the monologue in Murray's show, I don't have an ethos. I'm just mad. these people who have very real concerns then look at this guy and are like, yeah, all right, it's you. Like, and then they just like pick him up, which I feel trivializes the concerns of those people who are upset, because like the class issues that are present are very real, not just within this story, but within the world too. Yeah. And then for them to basically throw their support behind someone who clearly doesn't have any mental thought behind their actions, I feel trivializes the concerns that all of those writers have.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Before we keep diving super deep into this stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, those are the things that I was walking away. I wasn't necessarily troubled, because I feel like with that guy who would write that short story in college and high school and all that shit, like, I would always try and find the good. Because I'm like, I know, like, you're not... I would rather you write and create something morally kind of dumb, but I'd rather you do that than actually go and commit a terrible thing.
Yeah, this is a good outlet for you.
It's
sure.
like, it's an outlet.
Sure.
And I will support you in the fact that this is an outlet. In looking at this, it's like, you know, there is good too. Like, I do really love the cinematography. I do love the score. As far as Joaquin Phoenix is concerned, I think he's very good in this. Having seen a lot of his movies, and we were talking about art house bullshit earlier.
You've definitely seen more than I have of his movies.
This does feel like an amalgamation of a lot of his roles. You Were Never Really Here came out a couple years ago. He played a hitman in that, who also had a very damaged relationship with his mother. I definitely see a lot of echoes of that character in here. In terms of the physical comedy at play, I see a lot of his character and Inherent Vice in there. Mm-hmm. And it does feel like a lot of his characters that he's previously played Wonder Twin powered into one character.
Yeah, you got a lot of Johnny Cash from this, did you?
Yeah, definitely. It was, well, it's because he's trying to walk the line for most of the movie, James, but then all of a sudden he just dives into a ring of fire and it burns.
That's my main, like, Joaquin Phoenix go-to. I love Walk the Line. So.
Yeah. Well, and there was also the scene where he gave a thumbs down at one point, and I'm like, fuck, there's Gladiator too. So,
nice, yeah.
But I do think he's very good in it. I think Robert De Niro struggles a little bit. I think that the comedy that's required for him to play a Johnny Carson type character is kind of a stretch for him.
I think bottom line, if it didn't make so many excuses for Arthur Fleck's mental illness, mm-hmm. I think I would have felt a lot more comfortable with this movie. Like the comic Killing Joke.
Yeah.
He was a punching bag, so you could see those aspects of it.
But you could empathize, but you could also see where you are clearly making the choice.
At the end of the day, you knew he was the maker of his own demise.
Correct.
And I wanted that a little bit more from this movie, and I thought it was just, it blamed a little bit too much on his mental illness. And
his circumstances.
And that was what was a little troubling for me. That's mm-hmm. why I think it's troubling, in a sense.
And bear in mind, before we give our ratings, I would like to clarify, I'm well aware that there is a read of the movie where most of what happens is not real, where most of this is just within his head, like the Zazie Beetz subplot is in his head.
Sorry, I rolled my eyes real hard at that.
You did. Yeah. I should have called attention to that.
That's okay.
You actually passed a card to me that said, shitty excuses within movies causes me to roll my eyes. It's a mental condition. Please forgive me. So and it's one of those things where I think that read, this might all just be in his head and this all might just be deranged, I feel like supplants an interesting theme. I feel like it doesn't accommodate for the misses within the story, within the character arc, within the theme itself too.
The one argument I have for people who say, well, the whole thing was like in his head, right? Because that's what you're talking about. That theory, right?
That theory.
So you're saying it was in his head to have a girlfriend in his head.
Yeah.
That's where it falls apart for me, is just the Zazie Beetz thing.
Yeah,
it's like the second, in his wildest fantasies, having a girlfriend is still in the wildest of fantasies for that fantasy. It's just wildly ridiculous to me. So that's why I don't subscribe to that theory.
Yeah,
but, okay.
yeah. And bear in mind, like, if you have your theories for the Joker, like, you're more than welcome to email us, hit us up.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, right now, I don't feel like that's substantive enough to really knock me off of all of my criticisms for the movie. We rate the movies themselves on a scale of...
Rating time, yeah.
Should see again, which is the highest. Glad I saw it. Should have waited or shouldn't have seen it.
Never should have seen it, yeah.
I'm at a should have waited for this.
Okay.
I feel like I definitely could have waited until this came out on a streaming service or on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think I could have caught it there and had just as interesting of an experience. Do I think this movie is dangerous? Only if you're trying to quit smoking. Like, can you imagine, James, if you quit smoking like the Monday before this movie came out and you're like, wow, look at that. I saved so much money. I'll go see the Joker. And then every other goddamn scene, Joaquin Phoenix has a cigarette lit. That would tear you apart.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
My best case scenario for this movie is it's remembered like Marilyn Manson in the 90s, where everyone was like, this is dangerous. And we were like, no, it wasn't. It was okay. It was fine, but no, it wasn't.
I think that all my things still stand. I still think it is a fantastically made movie.
I think there's really good craft.
But at the end of the day, I could have waited on this one. So this is a should have waited for me too, especially with how just like the overbearing feeling I had walking out of the theater of like this was kind of troubling. I don't really like feel like this was balanced quite right. That is why I feel like I went with that.
Yeah, that's fair, man.
So
hey, dude, I'm right there with you. Yeah. Well, now that we have slayed the beast that is the Joker, let us conclude by telling you where to find us, how to reach us. If you are listening to this Joker review and you're like, fuck no, this is a masterpiece. And if you have a read on that, you're more than welcome to hit us up, tell us all about that, and we can maybe talk about that further. And if you want to do that, you can do that. I would say the best way is our email. If you hit us up at trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com, you are more than welcome to do so. Otherwise, if you want to hit us up on Facebook, if you just search Trailer Hitch Podcast on Facebook, you can find us there. You can leave us feedback. You can give us trailer requests if you'd like. Otherwise, if you'd like to keep that missive to about 280 characters, good news, we have a Twitter. @TrailerHitchPod is where you can find us from there. Otherwise, if you'd like to take a picture and send it to us, you can do that on Instagram @TrailerHitchPodcast. Or if you'd like to leave a comment on YouTube, please feel free to do that. We are on YouTube. If you search Trailer Hitch Podcast, give us a subscribe there. You can comment on there. We have read YouTube comments on the show before. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again. Gosh darn it. Yeah.
Or if you'd like to listen to us, if you are an Android user, you can absolutely find us on Stitcher. Hit us up there. Just search Trailer Hitch there. Otherwise, iTunes is a really good way to find us if you just search Trailer Hitch on iTunes.
On iTunes?
Yeah. Okay. So there is news that iTunes is going to be...
iTunes? I've never heard of that
iTunes
before.
is going to be going the way of the dodo. They're going to apparently be doing an Apple Music and Apple Podcast app. They're splitting it up into two different things. I agree with your eye roll. You gave me the card again, and I agree with that, James. It is very stupid. Because it's like iTunes is what made Apple really pop and become the thing it is today. And the best way I can describe it is it's like McDonald's saying, hey, we're going to get rid of our Big Mac, but then we're going to have a Big Mac Mini and then a double Big Mac Mini.
But we're not going to call them that.
No. But if you put them together, then you just have a Big Mac. And it's like, then don't get rid of the Big Mac. Listen, I'm an iTunes user of like 15 plus years.
I don't know anyone who doesn't use iTunes.
Right.
Anyone.
The people who moved on to Spotify, but you're still talking
but
to
you
someone
still have iTunes.
I still
though.
buy music, man. I still buy music.
It's ridiculous.
I'm a fossil, goddammit, and I'm mad.
Moving on.
Anyway. You can, as of now, find us on iTunes. Soon it will be Apple
or
Podcasts,
whatever it'll
the
be in the future.
That
I'll have to change the damn business card. God, so many business cards, Kevin.
We have an entire box. You can like us there. You can subscribe to us. Please rate us. Please review us. It helps us find even more listeners. Even if you're like, I fucking hate your Joker review, well then have more people listen to it so they get mad, and then write to us and we can talk about it. But before we go, we would also like to thank Danny Schmitz from Lost in a Name for the amazing intro song that you hear at the top of every episode. We would like to thank Rachel Ashley for the beautiful cover art that you see on all of our various social medias. You can find her work at Mighty Creations on Instagram. We would also like to thank Jenny Hawks, our social media and bad movie correspondent, for her sterling work, as always, helping to run those Facebook, Twitter, social media pages.
And get our name out there.
She gets our name out there,
That's
which
right.
James and I just don't like social media. So the fact that she was like, I'll post for you, meant the world to us, and she kills it every single week. Thank you so much, Jenny. We would also like to thank Casey Clowers for the amazing outro, which you are about to hear momentarily, before we thank you. This has been a very long episode, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it a lot, so that's a high bar for them.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Hope that you get your Halloween costumes in check. I've got my khakis on. I've got my beige shirt on. I'm going to go be a disappointing Disney movie.
You can't mend holy sails without a sailor stitch, and you can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Oh, dude, before we do Joker, is it okay if I go use the restroom?
Take your time, man.
Okay,
Take your
cool.
time.
Thanks, dude.
I got my whiskey. I got my thing.
Be back soon.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, so now that he's gone, just so everyone knows, there was going to be a Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker trailer this past Monday, but it's actually coming out this coming Monday, which is the day this episode is released. So we're getting a new trailer for Star Wars, and I'm just like, I'm excited about it, and then tickets are going to come on sale. I'm just really excited about Star Wars. I don't know if any of you know this about me, but I like Star Wars. And I just really think Star Wars is really good. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good.
I'm great. What?
Are you recording?
No.
No? Okay.
Hello.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Let's talk about Joker.
Does look like it was recording, though.
I was only drinking my whiskey here, though.
Oh, maybe I left it on accident.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
You didn't mention Star Wars, right?
Why would I?
Well, I mean, we said we were going to wait at least 2 full episodes before we talk about Star Wars.
I mean, you're not editing this episode, right?
I am, yeah. And this is Kevin coming to you live Sunday night, right about to release the episode. I would just like to say, James, I do understand why you did what you did. You're excited. I get it. That said, you have to understand that you're going to be in trouble for this. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you do not have the microphone on, and I will start locking my laptop from now on. This is partly on me. I should be locking my laptop more. Well, anyway, I hope you're excited about the Star Wars trailer, everybody, because James sure is.